Psalms 77 verse 5. I have considered the days of old, the years of ancient times. I call to remembrance my song in the night. I commune with my own heart, and my spirit made diligent search. Shalom, brothers. I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai Waharakhakodash. I want to give double honors to our apostles and our elders of Great Millstone at Ruwell. Peace and salutations and many blessings to you elect Akim across the four winds of this earth, kicking this word in sincerity and in truth. It's another lesson coming back at you. Again, I'm the brother Sha'ar from the Great Millstone Dallas camp. And what was just read here was Psalm 77 and 5. All right, and the title of this lesson through the Spirit is going to be called Remember. All right, because we got to think back, remembering what the men of old had done, remembering all the works that Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai had done to get us out of the situations that we were in, tough situations, how he delivered us out of Egypt, he delivered us out of the hand of our enemies, every bad situation we was in. When all we did was trust in him, he delivered us out of the situation. So as we're all in situations right now, we're going through things and we understand things are going to get worse, and we know they're going to get worse. How do we know that? We read it in the scriptures. Scripture that comes to mind is Daniel, the 12th chapter, where it talks about a time that's going to come that's going to be far beyond, more crucial than the times that have ever existed. Okay, so every day we have to constantly remind ourselves of the miraculous things the Lord Yahweh Yahweh Shai can do. All right, call his works to remembrance. Call his wonders to remembrance. Every day, be mindful of it. Verse 5 in Psalm 77 says, I have considered the days of old. All right, when you go into that word consider, check this out. That word is pronounced chashab, okay? It says to think, to plan, to esteem, calculate, invent, to make a judgment, to imagine. All right. It says to account. All right. Check this out, though. When you go down, it says to think upon, consider, to be mindful of. OK, so when you go back to this verse in Psalms 77, he says, I have considered. And when you substitute that word considered to be mindful of, it says, I have been mindful of the days of old, the years of ancient times. And this is King David saying this. All right. So if he's saying I have considered the days of old, that means that we got to do the same thing. Because are we not trying to, or don't we want to be like these guys that we read about? And it's like, you know, if I'm doing the same thing that they was doing, I'm doing something right. All right. So what he's saying is to meditate on the days of old, meditate on the things that Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai had done to get our forefathers out of tough situations. Because just like he can get those men out of those situations, the same thing applies for us. Okay. This is verse 6. I call to remembrance my song in the night. Now we understand, think of it nowadays. What is this song? All right. What's this music that's being played? What is this song that David's talking about? Okay, this ministry, all right, prophesying, this word coming out, that's the song. And as those seals have been opened up, and within those seals being opened up, we were brought to remembrance of those ancient men. We understand who we are as a people. We understand, most importantly, who our God is. All this stuff is brought to remembrance by this song. That's why it's so important for us to sing this song, to prophesy, because this is the energy that the Lord wanted to be pushed out on the earth in this day and age that we live in. This is the message. This is the music. This is the frequency, the vibration that descended down from a different realm. And it's being brought out of our mouths. So it's important that we remember this song, that we meditate on these things. The men of old, the music that was being played before, the prophecy, the word. He says, I call to remembrance my song in the night. I commune with my heart, which means his mind, which means he's meditating. And my spirit made a diligent search. So as you meditate on these things, as you sit back and reflect on yourself, examine yourself, examine these ancient scrolls, all right, these words that our ancient forefathers had wrote, we're making a diligent search with our spirit. We're communing with our hearts, with our minds. We're meditating, all right? You're calling to remembrance. Every time you sit down and meditate on things, every time you call to remembrance, whether it's things you need to work on and that you need to get better at, whether it's meditating on faith, what those men did. Excuse me, a little under the weather right now. Whether you're meditating on the walk that Yahushua did, on what the ancient prophets did, at the end of the day, you're meditating on what was done before, the works Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua had done, and you're calling all that to mind right now in this day and age that we're living in. Okay, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to do every day in order to want to stay on track when it comes to being in the spirit. Because if somebody is constantly mindful, remembering what they're a part of, what the Lord is doing, it's going to be hard to fall off. It's going to be harder for the spirit to leave you because you're constantly meditating on things that are important pertaining to the spirit. Okay? Again, I've considered the days of old. So if he considered the days of old, we need to consider the days of old. It's just that simple because it helps. You read it in Sirach, I believe it's in Sirach 38 or 39. It says, ponder the path of the ancients. All right. Remember this song. Remember the days of old. Remember what the Lord did for us when we were in trouble. Remember, had he helped those men out that believed? Call to mind all these things and watch Yahushua work. This is the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3. And I'm going to go straight to the point. This is 2 Peter 3:1. This second epistle, beloved, I now write unto you, in both which I stir up your pure minds by way of remembrance. How is that being done? We know that's being done through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua being within us, but that's being remembered. That's being brought back to this word. Understanding of this word. When you read this word, your pure mind gets stirred up. Your mind of remembrance, remembering these things. When you read about the laws, when you read about what was done, you read about who you are as a people, going into the blessings, the curses, the prophecies. What are you doing? You're stirring up your pure minds by way of remembrance, because as you go into these things, you understand that you knew these things at a point in time. And we think back that Yahushua is opening that understanding back for us so we can continue the paths that we left off on back then. All right. What are we doing as we're stirring our pure minds by way of remembrance? We're considering the times of old. We're considering the times of the ancients. We're being mindful of that. All right. And within that, Yahushua is going to sup with you more and show you more things as he's supping with you. Because once you put your mind set on these things, you're showing yourself to be diligent. All right. That's ultimately what you're doing. And it'll cause you to be more on fire, to want to do your lessons, to want to pray more, to want to study more. And within that, you'll see how Ba'Shem Yahushua show you little things here and there out of nowhere. Because you're doing what you need to do. All right. We need to remember. All right. And there's a plethora of things to remember. But at the end of the day, we just need to remember, man. Remember what Yahushua can do. Be mindful of the things he's doing. Don't allow Satan to get in your head so much to the point where you thinking that the Lord ain't doing enough. No, be mindful of the things he's doing and be mindful to yourself, your thoughts and your actions. Are you offending? Be mindful of it, of all these things, man. As we're getting closer to the end, we need to be more mindful than we were yesterday about the things that we're doing today, because the things that we do today not only can affect yourself, but it can affect the body. All right. But if you're not being mindful of those actions and being mindful of how those ancient men walked, and it's like, you know what, since they walked this way and served the Lord and pleased the Lord, I'm going to walk this way too. I'm going to try my best to do it. And once you ponder that way, it's going to be harder to offend because you're walking like the ancient men. You're walking how the Lord wanted you to walk. We have examples within the scriptures. Once you read about these stories, once you read about these accounts that these ancient men had done within their walks and how they walked in righteousness and how they pleased the Lord, It's like, man, this is a guideline right here. I want to walk like this. I want to remember this. I want to go back and look at this. Be mindful of it. It helps. This is verse 2. That ye may be mindful of the words which were spoken by the holy prophets. So when we read these scrolls, these scriptures, we have to understand every book that we read in here was written by the holy prophets, Old Testament and the New Testament. So once we get into this word, once we study into it, once we're meditating on it, what are we doing? We're being mindful of the words which were spoken by the holy prophets. And within doing that, you're giving yourself a diligent search because you're searching for the Lord. You're bethinking yourself. You're returning unto the Lord once you do this. But it starts with the mentality. It starts with the mindset. It starts with your mind being full of the words of the Lord. All right. People don't think of mindful. That mindful is a compound word. It means to be full of in your mind. And what is full in your mind? You want to have as much of the word in your mind as you can. And it only takes a diligent search to do that. All right. It takes a diligent spirit to be able to do that. Studying, meditating, praying, all that. That's how you have your mind full of holy things. And that'll cause you to remember more and more and more. All right. It says that ye may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets and of the commandment of us, the apostles of the Lord and Savior. Okay. So in order to be mindful of the words which were spoken, all right, you have to pray to the Lord and you got to get into this word. And within doing that, your pure mind will be brought up by remembrance. All right. The ancient way will be brought back. OK, the way you conduct yourself and walk is going to be you're going to have an ancient countenance. All right, because you're going to walk just like those men did back then. All right. When you're mindful of the words, of Yahushua, man, of the words of this whole book, man, it changes your life. But if you stray away from this word, all right, you'll end up walking in darkness. That's why it's important for us to remember. All right. Just to remember these words. And once you remember it, you conduct yourself as such, you'll see your life change before your eyes even more. Once you constantly remember this word. Call Allah Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Double honors to our apostles and our elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and salutations and many blessings to you. Like the Aki, I'm kicking this word of sincerity and truth. Wahara Chakodash, the water Yahweh Hashem Yahushua for allowing me to do this lesson. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Shalom.